snap it, and it's Trey Burton who throws caught. Foles, touchdown.
Here he goes. It's Hester. Inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown.
Fields stumbling, trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown!
Hurts on first down, fires downfield. It's Deshaun Jackson back in the lineup. Missed the last 7 games, and he will take it 81 yards. A somersault into the end zone. His first touchdown of the season.
You're listening to The Pigskin Project, the world's #1 football podcast. Now, with more insights on all things football, here are your hosts, Ben Hansen and Ryan Matthews. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 91st episode of The Pigskin Project. I have returned. It is nice. Ben, you're muted. I don't know what happened. It's muted again. I tried to unmute you. My bad. Obviously a little rusty, I guess.
Good to have you back, dude. I mean, don't get me wrong. Always nice to have Ryan, or not Ryan, Matt on the podcast. Well, it's always nice to have Ryan on the podcast too. But it's always nice to have Matt on the podcast. But for those who don't know, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows at this point. Ryan definitely, obviously I know how to operate everything, but Ryan is definitely more of the producer as well. He operates that stuff more than I do. I help with the comments and I know how to do everything, but Ryan's better at it than I am. It was a rough episode, left things hanging up. If you guys looked, the episode name was Pass Not. It was supposed to be The Pass or Not, and the number wasn't even right. It was a rough little week. Ryan's better at the behind the scenes things. I'm just here to look pretty and talk about football. So
there we go. Hey, I appreciate it. The kind words is nice. Anyways, Ben, you've been on an absolute tear recently in your predictions, and I'm going to be taking a little bit more of a different approach when it comes to it. But I will say, the overall feel for this episode is going to be a little bit different just because, Ben is 21 now, so he can bet. So we're changing pigskin payout just a little bit, still doing the same exact thing, but, changing it up just a little bit. But anyways, I don't know. Ben, how you doing this week, though? You doing all right?
Yeah, struggling through life right now, but, as every college student is, it's okay. We get through it. We get past it. I have to ask you, though, because you weren't on the podcast last week, thoughts on Bloomington football?
Yes. So I went to IU for the very first time and, saw a football game there.
Yeah.
Saw my first football game there. Lots of fun, I will say. And it was a big win, too. I think it was their first, conference win in how long?
A very long time.
Yeah, and nobody thought that they were going to win, including myself, because I had money against them. So it is what it is. It's not a bad bet, betting against IU. But anyways, it was lots of fun. I will say the stadium's beautiful. It's a gorgeous stadium. They had top-notch security. Clearly, they're kicking people out. For those of you that were there, you'll understand that joke. I don't want to dive into it too deep. But I will say, overall, from what I can remember, it was a lot of fun. I'm just really happy that I was able to, make it out, just because, shortly after I got back from Bloomington, nailed a deer. So that was great. It was my first deer that I've hit in my car. So not my first animal I've hit in my car, though. That car's taken a beating since I've been driving it. So, but anyways, overall 10 out of 10 trip. Got a parking ticket, but whatever, it's all good. Anyways, yeah, it was great, but it's been exhausting this last couple weeks, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Lots of doing a lot of running around and stuff. I started a brand new job, so that's another thing. But I mean, hey, can't really complain, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And I went to a Bears game on Thursday, which was why I missed the podcast. I mean, like that, and I got my butt kicked in Pigs Can Pick 'em, and I was a little embarrassed. But like,
that's actually what it was, guys. Don't let him try to say it was any other reason.
Yeah, I will say, just to briefly talk about it. So Caitlin and I went to the Bears and Panthers game, and it was awesome. So it's my first primetime matchup that I had ever seen in person. And for one, it's really nice to see Soldier under the lights. It was just unreal. Like the field just lit up in this way that was just gorgeous. So there's that. But I will say, the Bears marketing team, awful job, dude. Horrible. Like, big primetime game against the Panthers. I mean, this is a must win for the Bears. If there ever has been a regular season game, this is one of those must wins. And you give out towels that are blue camo on white background against the Panthers. No orange at all, just blue and white. And that's what we're swinging around when the Panthers are on defense or are on offense. I'm sorry. And it's like, I understand, like, you want the whole distraction point of it, but it's like, what are you doing? Like, we're waving around their colors. Like, at the very least, like, make the bear orange in the middle, but you didn't do that. It was all white. That's the only gripe I had about the entire game, though. The stands were packed. Ben, I don't know if you saw my Snapchat story or not, but like, those stands were packed compared to what you're probably used to at the Bears and Eagles game and the Bears and Chiefs preseason. It was just a surreal feeling. As crappy as like a football game that was, it was a lot of fun. It was competitive all the way through. My dad said that, like, he said, I can't believe you actually paid money to watch this. And I was like, it's so much fun. It really is. I mean, Soldier as a whole was just great. Walking through the tunnels and screaming Green Bay sucks was awesome. I haven't been a part of a winning Bears game at Soldier in so long. So being able to be a part of that was just awesome.
Is kind of funny and ironic because just 2 years ago, every single Bears game you had gone to at that point, they always won. So
a
little bit of a turn from grace from you, but
last year was not my year, man. I'll be honest with you. Like, I've been to, let's see, Bears Lions in 2018, Bears Giants in 2021, like literally the second day of 2021, I think. And then I went to, let's see, I've been to one preseason game, I think. Just ours.
Just that Chiefs game?
Yeah, I think so. So I'll count that as 3. And then Caitlin and I went to Bears Dolphins and Bears Packers, and then Bears Eagles with you, and then now Bears Panthers. So I've been to 7 games, whereas before last season I've only been to, I want to say 2. So it's been huge. But anyways, yeah, I mean, lots of fun. I always love going to Soldier. But thankfully this one ended up in a win, because honestly I don't know what would have happened if it would have ended in a loss to the Panthers. They're the worst team in the league. So anyways, let's go ahead and dive right in to weekly review, where, this week is just insane. And I thought about this just a little bit while I'm bringing this up. So you know how, like, last year, the whole, like, I guess, what's it called? Like, story behind the season was like, it's scripted. Like, it's predictable almost, like what's going on, blah, blah, blah. It's like, the referees and stuff, it's horrible. And you know how this season is even more unpredictable. I mean, you have the Cardinals coming out of nowhere. You have the Broncos on a win streak right now. Like, nobody would have predicted that.
No.
I think it's all intentional. It's all intentional. Everybody's like, oh, the NFL scripted. And then the NFL is like, oh, man, let's make fun of it and change up a couple of things and make this season a little bit more fun to watch, just because people are starting to question a little bit. I don't know. Conspiracy theories. But anyways, let's dive into it. Bears beat the Panthers 16-13. Colts beat the Patriots 10-6. Browns beat the Ravens 33-31. That was a really fun game, by the way. Steelers beat the Packers 23-19. 49ers just demolished the Jaguars 34-3. Jaguars just wrong place, wrong time, man.
There's once we go over the weekly review, there's a couple different quarterbacks I feel like we need to have a conversation about. So that's
Absolutely.
the point.
Vikings beat the Saints 27-19. Texans beat the Bengals 30-27. Buccaneers beat the Titans 20-6. Lions beat the Chargers in what I think could be the game of the year, 41-38. That one was probably the most fun I've had watching a football game.
Yes, it was wildly fun.
Cardinals beat the Falcons 25-23. Cowboys beat the Giants 49-17, which is insane, by the way, the points this season, like the differential between the two. Seahawks beat the Commanders 29-26. Raiders beat the Jets 16-12, and Broncos beat the Bills 24-22. Wow. I mean, what a primetime game on Monday that was, too. I was watching that at work because we were just so slow. I mean, awesome slate. But I don't know, man. What do you think?
No, like you said, it was good. And then, the big talking point was, how much these primetime games were not going to be fun to watch. But honestly, they were all like competitive. I mean, I don't want to say the Bears and Panthers game was fun, but it was a competitive game.
Yes.
But that Raiders Jets, I know no one wants to talk about it, but if you watched the game, it was fun. And then also that Broncos Bills game. I mean, if you watched it again, that'd be fun. But this week's slate of games is just wild, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But there are a couple quarterbacks, two good and two not so good. And I guess we'll start off as the two not so good quarterbacks. It's wild. Josh Allen, we need to have a conversation. And maybe this isn't the episode to do it. Maybe it is. But we need to start having a conversation about Josh Allen and if he should even be considered among the elite tier of quarterbacks. And then it was a conversation me and Matt had. You didn't really chime in much on it within the group chat. But T-Law, don't get me wrong. I think T-Law is fine, but he has not made that step up that we would have hoped. Right now, he's playing like Kirk Cousins. And no, Kirk Cousins is just fine. I love me some Kirk Cousins. But he has not made that step up into the next tier of quarterback that I would have hoped. Like he's 5-4 for a touchdown to interception ratio over the last 3 games. He hasn't looked good. But then again, to the Josh Allen point, his turnovers are becoming a major issue now at this point. Through, however many years, I think it's like through the first 6 seasons thus far, he has had the most interceptions and turnovers like ever of any quarterback through 6 years. Or for like the first 6 years of his career. And they're now 5-5. He has so much talent. His talent is absurd. But the issue is he is not playing smart football. And he's just throwing interceptions. He had 2 this past game. Week 1, he had 3 to 1 guy nonetheless. It's becoming like a little bit of an issue. But then in terms of like the guys, obviously there's like the Josh Dobbs and everything that have looked good, but we've covered Josh Dobbs, enough at this point. But first, Kyler. Insane. Yeah. Yes, he has. Josh Dobbs is wild. We talked about him last week. Ryan, I'd love to get your opinion on him. But the main guy I wanted to talk about was Kyler. I did not at all expect Kyler to come in and play as well as he did. Obviously, there's some rust he had to do to knock off, but he played very, very well. He played like vintage Kyler, and which is wild to see. Usually don't see a quarterback his first game coming back off of an ACL tear perform as well as what he did. And he played very, very well. But then the other one, I wanted to avoid talking about him for as long as possible. Do I like him? No. But I do think he gets enough hate. Dak Prescott, he's playing well this season. He's playing one of his better seasons thus far.
Dare I say it's even quiet? Like, he's not really all that much talked about,
And that's what I'm saying. We need to talk about him more. He's 17 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. So it's almost a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And he's completing 70% of his passes. he's playing well. While he hasn't played like MVP, level play, he's playing one of his better seasons that we've seen him like go through in the last couple of years. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is his best season that we've seen. As much as I'm not a fan of Dak Prescott, because go Birds, he is playing very well, which hurts to say.
I haven't looked at it.
I'd love to hear just your opinion on general of T-Law, Josh Allen, and then those two young guys, and then Joshua Dobbs as well. And then I would say Justin Fields, but we can save that for next week because Lord knows we talked about Justin Fields enough on this podcast.
Here's what I'll say really quick. When you want to talk about Justin, I'll talk briefly, just because the overall like feel of the game at Soldier on Thursday was that if we had Justin in, this game is not that close. Like Justin makes it not even more watchable, but it's a different game. The only thing that I have a problem with right now is the way that Eberflus talked about it in the press conference, saying that, with Justin returning, like obviously we have different game plans for different guys. So with Bajan, it was, stay in the pocket, like making quick reads, stuff like that. With Justin, we're doing more designed runs, QB sneaks, stuff like that. And it's like, don't say that for one. For two, these plays that you have for these design runs for Fields is just not working, like at all. None of them have worked. The only plays that work for Fields as a runner is when it's not designed for him to run. Like he creates the holes that he runs through. It's a talent thing. So when it comes to Fields, like I do think that he's a better quarterback than Bajan. I don't think that I ever question that personally. But then you look at Dak, right? And Dak, looking at his stats and everything, to be honest with you, like, he's performing a little bit better than I had thought originally. However, what he's done against the opponents and the teams that he's played against, like, he's had his ups and downs for sure. You have like week 1, he had no touchdowns, no interceptions, and 143 yards. It's like, okay. Then you have the Jets, 2-0. It's like, that's cool. He played against the Cardinals where it was one touchdown, one interception. And then from there, 1 touchdown against the Patriots, no interceptions, 1 touchdown against the 49ers, 3 interceptions. And then ever since the 49ers game, he's been playing pretty decent to where he has 12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in the past 4 weeks. So recently he's been playing well. His stat line altogether is very Dak. 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 2,415 yards. I mean, last year he didn't really do all that great. He almost matched his stat line so far.
He was also hurt last year for he missed the first 5, or not missed the first, but he did miss 4 or 5 games last year. But I mean, right now, if you average out, so let's say we're halfway through the season right now, you average that out because we are halfway through the season, which is wild to say, right? Halfway through the football season already, which is a bummer. But you average out so you go across and you just divide that by 2 because again we're halfway through the season. He's gonna finish the year with almost 5,000 passing yards, 34 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. With again a really good QBR, a 70% completion rating, and when you look at 34 interceptions or 34 touchdowns to 12 interceptions and almost 5,000 passing yards, that blows every single year he has out of the water outside of 2019, which 2019 he was getting those MVP talks, and that's when the Cowboys probably look their best. He is just playing very good.
I will say, I mean, Dak's up in the air. The way that I'll just end the Dak conversation, because we've got a couple more quarterbacks to talk about. Dak's gonna Dak. So the trend right now in the last 4 weeks is that he's been good, but Dak's gonna Dak. Dak is gonna be. He's gonna screw it up towards the end of the season. He's the regular season quarterback that's gonna screw up in the playoffs. That's gonna be the end of them. The one quarterback that I really want to talk about really quick before we get to Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence, Russell Wilson.
That's right. Yep,
Okay.
that's exactly what I was going to step in and say.
Yeah. So, like last year, he had 16 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, and I don't think he missed that much time. This year, he's already thrown for 2 more touchdowns than he had last year and 4 interceptions. Now, part of me starting to think maybe Russ wasn't the problem.
No, it was Hackett. Hackett's awful. It was Hackett.
And, obviously we've talked very, very bad about Hackett and everything. I mean, Russell Wilson, man, he's been playing pretty decent. You want to talk about recency bias a little bit about these quarterbacks like Dak. I mean, Russell Wilson is that guy right now. Like, he's been doing very well. And I mean, enough to where he's put those Broncos that started really bad. He put them on a 3-game win streak. You know what I mean? He's been the driver in all of that. So, I'm not one to really say that winning is a quarterback stat. It's an argument for another day.
You already have said it's not a quarterback stat. I just want to put that out there.
No, I know. I'm just saying I don't agree with that. I don't think that it is a quarterback stat. You got defense factored in too. But like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that he doesn't play a massive part in winning. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, Russ has been really good, but, I mean, Josh Allen, it's time to have that conversation, man. I mean, if you can't, I think the Super Bowl window for the Bills is closing. You look at Josh Allen and what he's doing. We talked about it briefly in our group chat as well. Mm-hmm. Between me, you, and Matt, I think that Josh Allen is on the same exact level as Justin Herbert then at that point.
Right now, and which isn't saying much because Justin Herbert's a very good quarterback in his own right, but he's no longer, I think, viewed in the same level as Hurts, Mahomes, and Burrow are. And honestly, crazy, again, I've said it before, I would put Lamar in front of him as well. But
what's crazy is that, like, Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, like, they're in comparable situations, I would say, right? I think Justin Herbert might be in a little bit better of a situation, but you look at their stat lines and you, like, right off the jump, let me just ask you this, right? If I had asked you, even before last week, who's better, Josh Allen or Justin Herbert?
As much as I'm going to get backlash. I don't care. I'm going to go with Herbert. I really am like a firm believer that Herbert
let me just say this
is better. I think Staley sucks, but
let me just say this then to counter. What's the general consensus of who's better?
Obviously Allen. Yeah. Well, I don't say obviously because I know some people would also take Herbert, but yes, Josh Allen.
Dude has 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and 2,600 yards on the season. Justin Herbert has 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and almost 2,400 yards on the season.
Exactly.
So these guys, it's a better touchdown to interception ratio when it comes to Justin Herbert. I think that honestly, this is like Justin Herbert's situation is the epitome of he's got a head coach that's holding him back. Brandon Staley is awful. We've talked about it for years on this podcast at this point. Like, it's horrible. So when you look at Justin Herbert, this dude's been going off like crazy, man. He's good. But for some reason, it's something. It's either the play calling or just like,
I hope they don't make I honestly hope the Chargers do not make the playoffs this year, because if the Chargers don't make the playoffs, you have no freaking excuse to have Staley as the head coach. And he's going to be the hot name everywhere you look. But Ben Johnson in that offense with Justin Herbert and those wide receivers would be fun to watch. Well, and then to the point in continuing the comparison between them as well, there's been talks, at least as of the past week, of Sean getting fired. Sean McDermott, the Bills head coach, getting fired.
Which is insane, because I would take him in a heartbeat.
I get that, but you at a certain point you do. I'm sorry, guys. My camera's being a little odd, by the way. So if you guys see me come in and out or the camera cuts out, that's what it is. But you can't continuously have this quarterback that gets you here and gets you here and gets you here, but then can't get you above that hump. And it's cool if you can continue getting me like, the best team in my division, but then not even get to the Super Bowl. And it'd be different if he got the Super Bowl and lost or something, but he hasn't even done that.
Right.
You can't, at a certain point, you have to find a coach that can get you, to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. But then also, Stephon Diggs, man. Stephon Diggs. It's been something that has been boiling over the course of the last like 2 or 3 years, ever since that Chiefs game 2 years ago. I mean, I think he'd be stupid to leave. As much as we're talking about Josh Allen, again, is still one of the better quarterback talents in the NFL right now. And for him to just up and leave, then you're not going to really find a better situation, at least in terms of quarterback.
I'll tell you this. If Diggs is leaving Buffalo, they're tanking. They're done. Yeah. Their Super Bowl window is closed. They're firing coaches. They're shipping on, like, they're getting draft capital and starting the next phase of Bills football. And that is a tank. That is what the Bears did. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, not quite but yes.
Maybe not quite to the extent, but you're starting over.
And they do have a very old, I wouldn't say a very old roster, but like an older roster as is anyways. You go across that defense, and pretty much outside of Ed Oliver and Gregory Rousseau, most of their guys are old. And then you can talk about Trey White, but Trey White is like just consistently injured. Everyone on that team is old or injured. So maybe taking a year to reset. I'm not going to use the word rebuild, but taking a year to reset, maybe even with Daboll as their head coach, and reset, it would be fun. So, I mean, Josh Allen looked his best when he was calling the plays. Just saying. So,
lastly, Trevor Lawrence, I mean, we got to talk about him. So this guy, I mean, okay, let me look at what's going on here because I haven't looked at his stats really.
You just wait.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just wait until you see it.
I mean, like, I looked at it briefly just because I played a little bit of a joke on our group chat. Like, Justin Fields has a better stat line right now. He does.
Yeah.
And, like, that doesn't mean that Justin Fields is the better quarterback, but it's like Justin Fields had a really good start to the season before he got hurt. Like, you'll even agree to that, which means a lot. Like, let's be honest. So I'm not going to sit here and play the whole, like, who's better card, but I will say Trevor Lawrence, man, like, you got to figure it out. Like, you really
He's not even the best quarterback in this division at this point.
He's not. CJ Stroud's playing like an MVP candidate.
And we had a conversation. We had a conversation about like behind closed doors on if Stroud is should be in the MVP race, and I said he's playing like it, but I don't think he's going to win enough games. But then you look at the rest of his schedule, and he might win enough games. Their last 9 games of the season are the Cardinals, the Jags, the Broncos, the Jets, the Titans, the Browns, the Titans again, and the Colts. And all of those teams, like, they don't play a good, obviously every team in the NFL is good, but they don't play like a good hard team again the rest of the season. And that one team would have been the Bengals, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, it's wild. But not to make that about CJ Stroud. We had a 20-minute conversation about him last podcast. But
yeah. Let me ask you this really quick before we move on, just because we need to get to weekly news and I'll probably blow through that. But so as a Bears fan, we talked about it briefly before, like literally right before the podcast started, right? So I'm going to explain for the people that, obviously couldn't hear. So it's either one or the other. It's either Fields sucks and you fire the coach and you get a new quarterback and everything, or Fields does good and Eberflus sticks around for another year, because like it's not one or the other. You don't keep Fields and not keep Eberflus because Fields has to outperform what he's already done. Yeah. So I guess my question to you is, as a Bears fan, right? Or like not even as a Bears fan, but like put yourself in my shoes. Yes, what would you be rooting for in this case? Like, do you want Fields to ball out at this point, or are you just kind of hoping for the worst? That way you can get a better draft pick.
Well, to be honest, I'm hoping, as a Bears fan, I'm hoping that Fields is balling out and is absolutely just wreaking havoc on the rest of the league. But then your defense is trash, and you guys lose all the rest of your games, 41-42. And that way you can, get your wide receiver, trade back with another pick, you find your guy. But then if your defense is bad enough and you guys continue to lose, but Fields looks good, then you can fire Eberflus and hire a new head coach. But if it is one or the other, truly, I want to tank, because this team right now, as it is not even close to being able to contend in the NFC.
Yeah.
So if you continue to keep it like as is, which at this point it would be, it's it's just gonna be another year. And that's kind of what, like we talked about with the Saints. It's gonna be another year of the same thing, and all you're doing is prolonging it when it's gonna happen again inevitably. So
what I will say,
I don't know.
What I will say is, when it comes to Fields or the latter, it looks like, quarterback is not the biggest need on this team. Like, at the end of it, like, the biggest thing is, and it's getting younger. The team is getting younger, and that's good.
Yes.
But you need time to develop, for one. And I mean, like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time because, like you've been saying, like, we talk about the Bears a lot. The run defense is sneaky good. Like, it got a lot better since like week 3. I want to say after the Chiefs game, it's been really good. The pass rush has definitely gotten better since Montez Sweat, showed up. He might not have the sacks to show for it, but the quarterback, like, hurries has been good. The one player that I have the most problems with on this defense,
I hope. Oh, on the defense. All right, never mind.
The defense is Eddie Jackson. You cut this guy, or not cut it. You trade this guy in the offseason. You get rid of him. This guy, he's not great. He might be a locker room leader, but he's not great. He's not who he once was. And then on the offensive side, this is my predicament. And come draft season, it's going to be a little bit more intriguing, especially because we get to mock what might happen in different scenarios and stuff. So one could say, like, they should trade Fields and, go quarterback, or one should say, like, they draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and then they trade out of that spot and build around Fields. I mean, who knows? But we've got 7 weeks for Fields to make a name for himself and, really claim the spot as his, because you've still got plenty of time on his rookie deal. So there's that. But anyways, all right, here we go. Let's get right into. Oh yes, sorry. Yeah.
Real quick, I was hoping we were going to talk about the same player, but when you didn't, I just as a
we're gonna talk about him.
What?
We gonna talk about Bayless right now? Because I'll tell you right now that.
Oh no, I'm not talking about. Everyone at this point should know how bad he is. No, as a former offensive lineman, and that might have given it away already.
Oh,
dude, who do you think I'm going to talk about?
Here's what I'm going to say really quick. I don't know if you know this or not, but Eberflus came out on a press conference today saying that Nate Davis is healthy. And you know how Tevin Jenkins and Darnell Wright have been, like, tearing it up, right?
Yes.
Like, outstanding, because they moved Tevin Jenkins to right guard. They have Lucas Patrick at center, and then they have Cody Whitehair at left guard with Braxton Jones in the left tackle.
So you had already named the player, but yes.
Dude, they're moving Tevin Jenkins back to left guard instead of keeping him in the right side with Darnell Wright. Like, what are you doing? Like, these two are killing it. This is the right-hand side of your line for the future. Like, you have Nate Davis that you signed as a switch guard. He could play whichever side. Let him be the vet towards the left tackle that needs help. Like, Braxton Jones has been sneaky good, don't get me wrong, but he needs veteran presence there to help guide him just a little bit more. And if Nate Davis doesn't understand it, you've got a little bit more help surrounding him as well. Like, just make the left side maybe a little bit weaker. I don't know. Like, don't spread it out and just be like, that might work. Like, this coaching staff, dude. Anyways, are you talking about Braxton? Is that the guy
No,
that
I'm
you're
not even talking about
Nate
Braxton.
Davis?
I'm talking nope, not even Nate
Cody
Davis.
Whitehair?
Not even Cody Whitehair. I'm talking about Lucas Patrick.
Oh, Lucas Patrick. Yeah, he can go
Dude,
kick rocks, dude. He's
oh
awful.
my gosh. It's actually so every single time, and maybe it's because I'm just like programmed to hone in on the center and everything. But it's no pun intended, it's unbearable watching him play football. He
It's
like
bad.
consistently is not doing things correctly. He's getting pushed over. He's missing blocks. He's getting moved around. He'll go to the second level to get a linebacker and just like trip over his foot.
Yeah.
I don't know how he has a job. Good for you. There's some good centers in this class, but my lord, you guys should have taken John Michael Schmitz.
I mean, I advocated for it, but instead, hey, guess what? We traded for Chase Claypool. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get into weekly news.
Ryan and Ben bring you weekly news.
All right, so I have 4 headlines because not a lot has happened since Sunday. So, Bears quarterback Justin Fields will return this week. The Saints have signed pass rusher Jason Pierre-Paul. The Vikings have re-signed linebacker Anthony Barr. And then Ravens cornerback Marlon Humphrey suffered a calf strain and not an Achilles injury and is day-to-day. So a lot better
You're missing
than what Ravens fans thought.
one more thing.
Yes, go ahead.
Browns.
Oh, yes, Deshaun Watson's out for the season. Pretty big. DTR season, baby. Here we go.
Dude, that's like the one bright side. Like, as much as I'm not a fan of, like,
I'm gonna root for them now.
Deshaun, but now I am gonna root for them. I mean, I love their team. Myles Garrett, I've said it numerous times, is my favorite non-Eagle in the entire league. But also like DTR. Everyone knows where I stand on DTR. But like now I don't feel like a dirtbag rooting for them, and it is great. I mean, I don't want to wish ill harm on anyone. I just, for obvious reasons, not a fan of Deshaun Watson. But now, like, it's gonna be fun. Maybe you have something DTR.
I will just continue to say this. The Browns are America's real team, and they were before Deshaun Watson even came there. Just because so many people root for the Browns because they feel bad. So there we go. Anyways,
America's team is Michigan, but we'll get into it.
Oh, God.
They say winning isn't everything, and that may be true in some cases. But right now, let's make some money. It's time for Pigskin Payout.
Feeling good. I'm not going to lie to you. Just won $125 on a bet right now, so that was cool.
There you go.
So, injecting the good vibes into this segment. The new piece of this segment is going to be Thursday night football is Ben's call. Sunday slate is going to be mine. We're not even going to touch Monday nights, really. Monday Night Football is going to be awesome. Side note, it's going to be awesome.
Yes,
Eagles and Chiefs.
Awesome.
We'll talk about it. Yeah. Anyways, so I'm going to react to Thursday Night Football. Ben's going to react to Sunday.
Yep.
So,
so I got a 4-legger for you guys, and this is awesome. The odds end up coming out to be plus 1,200, like straight
nice.
Plus 1,200, which is like just satisfying to see. Didn't even do that on purpose. I'm gonna take over on total points. Every team, both of them have been. For those who don't know, it's Bengals versus Ravens.
What's the line?
Yeah, I'll get there real quick. But it is Bengals versus Ravens. For everyone wondering what it is, but both the Bengals and the Ravens have been like their lines have been hitting for overs like pretty consistently all season, and the over for this game is only 46. Which is surprising. Like that wasn't even what the over was for the Bengals and Texans that I bet on. And the Ravens have better offense, let's be honest here. And then I took over on Mark Andrews, 4.5 receptions. Honestly, that is the one that I'm going to sweat out the most. But I think he can do it. He's Lamar's favorite target. Over on 7.5 receptions for Jamar Chase. In a normal week, I probably wouldn't have taken that, but it looks like T. Higgins will not be playing tomorrow. He's hurt for those
7.5.
7.5. Yep. Again, usually I wouldn't take that, but again, with T. Higgins being out, he's fighting for targets against Tyler Boyd, who dropped a game-winning touchdown. That's besides the point. And then Joe Mixon, anytime scorer, just because, again, if this game is going to be high-scoring the way I predict it to be, if the over is going to hit for 46.5, it's going to be because the running backs are going to score at least once. So that's why I put Mixon. So again, it's a 4-legger. It's pretty simple, but the fact that I got the odds at plus 1,200 were huge. That's no odd boost. That's just straight up what the line is. So yeah, again, one more time, over 46.5 points, over 4.5 receptions for Mark Andrews, over 7.5 touchdowns, or 7.5 receptions for Jamar Chase. Anytime score, Joe Mixon.
All right. So with all due respect, and I don't mean to tear your parlay apart.
Oh, you're fine.
I really don't like any of this. So I will say over 46.5 total points. That's a very, very high line. I'm one to bet the over on total points a lot, and 46.5 total points hardly ever hits for one. For two, it's a divisional matchup against two high power offenses, and normally that doesn't result very well. I will say, like 9 times out of 10, it probably won't hit. So that's why I'm like, Mark Andrews, 4.5 catches. I feel like 5 catches is a lot to ask from a tight end. But at the same exact time as well, like it's doable because it's Mark Andrews. But on the other side of things, you've got Roquan Smith over the middle as well. That is probably going to be playing a little bit of coverage alongside, whoever else is playing. So that one's a little bit iffy as well. Jamar Chase, because Tyler Boyd isn't playing, and T. Higgins, I believe, is questionable. I don't want to say he's playing or not, but because of that, it's a little bit risky. Then 8 catches from any receiver is just a big, big ask. Jamar Chase itself, I mean, the yards is going to be pretty decent, but Jamar Chase, man, that Ravens secondary is tough. I will say, I think the under is going to hit if that's the line. And then Joe Mixon, anytime touchdown. I had Joe Mixon as a fantasy running back. So I really don't like Joe Mixon because I had to trade him away for like nothing. He's efficient at times, but this Ravens defense is tough, man. I will say
it is. It's one of the better defenses in the entire league for sure.
Yeah, so. If this is something that you're looking at doing, it's plus 1,200, so it's going to pay you very well. So best of luck to you. Anyways, don't be any more fair than I was to yours for mine.
Yep. No. Again,
it's going to be a little difficult.
This is what we like. We're not responsible for your money, and I am going to throw $5 on that. Anyways,
my call here. Sunday slate. I have Bears plus 8. At the Lions. So looking at history, the way that it's gone, Lions were clearly the better team last year against the Bears. However, the Bears and Lions were always pretty much close. Justin Fields always kept them in the running for that game. And I think Bears plus 8 is a pretty generous point spread just because for some reason, and under Eberflus, the Bears have really kept it close with teams that they shouldn't necessarily compete with. And it's normally garbage time points.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying plus 8. Cowboys plus 10.5 at Panthers. I saw it in person. The Panthers are garbage. Cowboys are good. That defense is going to tear Bryce Young apart and not be close at all. So Cowboys plus 10.5. This one is a very low line. Steelers at Browns over 33 total points. And I think the line is so low because DTR is starting instead of Deshaun Watson. However, normally when you look at it, I mean, for the Browns to have PJ Walker look pretty good, I think that the system is built for a quarterback like DTR to be able to be good. Jerome Ford is still a good running back. He's not great, but he's good. But it's enough to compete with the Steelers team that should be pretty high powered as well. George Pickens coming out of nowhere. Deontay Johnson's getting targets as well. It's going to be pretty decent. And lastly, Raiders plus 13.5 at Dolphins. This Raiders team has some electric behind them. I don't have the full, odds as far as the parlay, but I really like every bit of this, including, the spread. So who knows? What do you think, buddy?
I like your second and fourth one a lot. I'll ride with the Cowboys line and the Raiders line. I'm not doing it with the Bears. I'm not. The Lions are looking like one of the best teams in the NFL. And quarterbacks coming back from injuries, unless your name is Kyler Murray, I guess, usually struggle their first game back. And then what was that third one?
Steelers at Browns.
Steelers Browns. Yeah, no, that one. I know it is so low scoring, but Kenny Pickett has never thrown, or I think in his entire career, one time has thrown for. No, I think it is never. I think it is never thrown for 2 passing touchdowns in a game, which is wild. And then it's fun to watch DTR. I'm going to root for DTR, but man, I think he's going to struggle against TJ Watt. And man, I think Kenny, what?
That secondary is a little tough.
Yeah, it's I would say two of the better defenses in the entire league against Kenny Pickett, who, let's be honest, at any point the Steelers could get rid of. He just has not. He's been mid in every sense of the way, and not even a Kirk Cousins mid. He's just been not even that good. And then it's a rookie quarterback in DTR. That might be one of the most lowest scoring games of the week, in my opinion. So I'm not a fan of those two, but I do like the Cowboys line, and I am a very big fan of the Raiders. I told you guys when they hired the intern head coach that there's something to it, and there's something to it. So.
All right, let's get to our next segment.
Just when you thought it was safe to play the underdog, we put you on Upset Alert.
All right, so I only have 4 games for Upset Alert. Sometimes we forget. Yeah, all right, no problem. I'm just going to name all 4 of mine that we can get through this as quick as possible because, I know last week went a little long. We're trying to make time. So Bengals at Ravens. I think the Ravens are very overhyped. They've got a good record and they're high in power rankings, but I think the Bengals could pull off the upset. They're going to be really upset just because, they lost to the Texans. So it's like normally that doesn't go well for other teams. Yeah. Raiders at Dolphins. Like I said, very high-powered Raiders team. They're using Devontae Adams the way that they should use Devontae Adams. Aiden O'Connell didn't look horrible. I don't think, I'm just going to go ahead and spoil one of my picks for the next segment. I don't think the Raiders do this, but I think that there's potential for it. Cardinals at Texans. Kyler Murray looked good.
Yep.
The Texans team, man, it's ups and downs, man. That's really what it is. And then Vikings at Broncos. So this one, I would say the Vikings, they are probably the team that's getting upset here because the Broncos are on a tear. However, it could literally lean both sides because there's storylines leading up for both of them. This one's a very fun matchup. You've got Vikings led by Josh Dobbs, Justin Jefferson potentially coming back as well. It's going to be interesting. And then you've got the Broncos on a 3-game tear. Who's going to get upset here? But at the same exact time, somebody will be. So that's why I added them. But that's my 4.
Yeah, no, we'll start off with that game exactly. I had that one as one of my 5. Exactly as you wrote it. It's I don't know who's the underdog. Like obviously Vegas has their lines and whatnot, but I could see this game going either way. So that's the same reason I talked about it. It's gonna be really fun to watch. And then just to get it up and out of the way, the Raiders versus Dolphins. I don't actually think the Raiders are going to do it, but I really do think the Raiders are going to give the Dolphins a little bit more run for the money than what people expect. But then the 3 that you didn't have, Jets versus Bills. The Jets have already done it once, and that's why I threw that on there. The Jets have done it once, and they have given Josh Allen fits. That defense is very, very good. Cardinals versus Texans. Stroud has looked like we've talked about it enough at this point. Stroud has looked very, very good, but no one at all has expected Kyler to come out and play as well as what he did. At the end of the day, the Texans do have a better roster, but the Cardinals, very surprisingly, have played very, very strong football games outside of a few for Jonathan Gannon. So I think this game was going to be really close. And then this is probably just out of spite. Definitely, it's not even probably. It is definitely out of spite. The Cowboys versus Panthers. I think they are riding high after not playing a quarterback. Tommy DeVito is bad, just straight garbanzo beans, just very, very bad. And Bryce Young is definitely better than Tommy DeVito. Again, I think the Cowboys will do it. It's, again, spoiling a pick. I think the Cowboys will win, but I wouldn't be surprised if this game is close. And let's be honest, the only time I put the Panthers on upset alert was against the Texans. And how did that work out for me last time?
Yeah. Right. All right. Let's go ahead and get right into Pigskin Pick'em. What is this, week 11? Is this week 11 or week 12? Week 11.
This is week 11, but wow. I just saw your text, by the way. Yes, week 11.
All right. Let's get right into it.
You think you know football? Well, prove it. This is Pigskin Pick'em.
All right. There we go. Yeah, let's get started with it, Ben. You're killing me. You went 10-4 last week. And literally the week before you went 11-1. So I mean 21-5 in your last 2 episodes is crazy.
Absolute roll.
Yeah, I went 8-6 overall. You're beating me 98 and you're 98-49. I'm 82-65, so not great. Anyways, let's get right into it. We're not going to do points just because of time. Just going to go through predictions here. Bengals at Ravens. I got the Bengals.
This one, and then Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. I'm going to be honest.
It'll be fun.
Were the hardest 3 games for me to pick. They're all, again, very, very good matchups. For the bit, we'll continue picking the Ravens just because I have been doing it, so we will do it. But be honest, I'm not wildly confident in it. I could see this game going either way, but I'm going to pick the Ravens.
Steelers at Browns.
I'm going to pick this. I'm going to pick the Browns. The Browns have beat the 49ers with a backup quarterback. And they can do it against the 49ers. They can do it against the Steelers. For sure. We're going Browns. We're going to do it. We're going to lean into DTR.
I'll go Steelers here. I'll go Steelers. Raiders at Dolphins. I'm going Dolphins.
The Dolphins. It's the Dolphins.
Yeah. Bears at Lions. I'm going Lions.
Yep. Sorry, buddy. Going Lions as well.
It happens. Hey, you know what? I've learned to pick against the Bears and then be pleasantly surprised when I'm wrong. You know what I mean?
That's the way to go. That is the way to go.
Titans at Jaguars. I'm going Jags.
I almost put the Jags on upset alert. I'm going to be honest. But we'll go with the Jags.
Chargers at Packers. I got the Chargers.
I know the Packers have. I don't want to say turned it on in recent months or recent weeks, but they have looked better in recent weeks.
Love looked good last week, I will say. From a Bears fan, that should tell you something.
Yes. But I am going to go the Chargers. The Chargers are a better team.
Cardinals at Texans. I'm going Cardinals.
Oh, you're not nice for that. I was going to do that. Because you did that, I'm going to go with the Texans. Kind of stole my what's the word I'm looking for? My thunder. That's the word I'm looking for. Stole my thunder on that one. So we'll go with the Texans because to pick differently. I can afford to lose a couple of these games.
Just a side note, just to come back to our quarterback conversation, Jordan Love has a better stat line than Trevor Lawrence this year. Anyways, Cowboys at Panthers.
Just saying. Yes, Cowboys.
Yeah, me too. Giants at Commanders. This is just a stink fest.
Yeah, but the Giants are not going to win another game this season. Tommy DeVito is going to be their quarterback for the rest of the season. If he even gets through the season, dude is stinking. Yeah. It's the Commanders all the way.
Yep. Buccaneers at 49ers. Starting the afternoon slate. I got the 49ers here.
The Niners have. I'm going to go with the Niners. The Niners, while they didn't look very good heading into their bye, 3 straight losses, they came out against the Jags and looked like the Niners that we would have, expected them to look like. The Niners of old. So I'm going to go with the Niners as well. Hopefully you don't steal my thunder in this next one.
Jets at Bills.
Jets. I'm
going Bills.
Yeah. The Bills are going to come out with vengeance. The Bills are going to say, we want to beat a team. It's been a rough couple weeks. But the Jets have done it once. And again, I think that Jets defense is going to give them fits. And maybe the Jets will get a punt. I think it was a punt. I don't think it was a kick. I'm pretty sure it was a punt. A punt return to the house. So.
Oh no. Seahawks at Rams.
The Seahawks. As much as I've been, I would say, championing the Rams with Matt Stafford out and with us not knowing when Matt Stafford's going to be back, it's hard for me to pick anything other than the Seahawks in this one.
Is that your final answer?
Yep.
All right, cool. Matt Stafford's back this week against the Seahawks. I'm going with the Rams.
There you go.
Vikings at Broncos. Sunday Night Football.
Oh, Lord. Because I'm holding out hope, mainly because of my fantasy team, that JJ is going to be back. I'm gonna go with the Vikings on this one.
I will also go with the Vikings. Yeah. Eagles at Chiefs.
Oh God. I have to. I have to. It's the Eagles are gonna get vengeance. It's gonna be a good game. This is the first time all season the Eagles have been underdogs, which is wild.
Yeah.
I have to. The Eagles.
Yep.
Come on now.
EAGLES.
There
Eagles,
you
baby.
go.
There we go. All right, so that'll do it. And stay tuned to our Twitter because I will be posting updates as we go along, especially if Ben keeps his streak. Anyways, let's go ahead and move it to our next segment.
Pro football isn't the only game in town. Let's take a stroll to Ben's College Corner.
Ben, buddy, you have the floor here. So your mic, yep, there we go. And I will chime in as needed. This is normally your segment here. That's why it's called Ben's College Corner, man. So, I don't know. But anyways, I will chime in as needed.
Yeah. So as we usually do, we're just gonna go over some college news, and then we'll go over 3 matchups. Because next week's gonna be a wild week, guys. Next week was rivalry week. Next week is where teams make or break their playoff cases. But that is something that we will save again for next week. Come back, listen, be huge. I have to start. We always start here the last 5 weeks now at this point. Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, so right before their game, so it would have been Friday night. I think they purposely did that to kind of be jerks to him. 3-game suspension. So for the rest of the regular season, and not a full suspension, but suspension from the sidelines, so he can coach and go about his business as he would during the week. But then come game time, he's not allowed to be at the game at all. I would not be surprised if Michigan puts in an appeal. I haven't heard much news. I know there's something going on Friday about it, so we should hopefully hear more news about that come Friday. I would be wildly surprised if he is not back and coaching at that game for OSU, and if he isn't, it's an absolute crime. An absolute crime. There's been a whole lot being made of Michigan not getting the due process, them making a ruling, handing out punishments on an investigation that is still ongoing, which is wild in the first place. Why are we handing out punishments for an investigation that isn't done? And the more and more that news continues to come out, the more and more the Big Ten specifically looks stupid and idiotic for doing this stuff. As news came out today, Connor Stallion was never paid at all for anything by the school. He officially did not get paid to do any of that. And that even more is coming out about him creating this manifesto and him talking about how he wants to take over the program and do all this stuff with college football. I don't know Connor Stallion obviously at all. For those who don't know, I don't think we've talked too much about it. He was the guy that was buying the tickets and doing that in-person scouting and whatnot. But the more news that comes out about this guy, he just sounds very politely. He sounds a little deranged. It just, something doesn't seem quite right. And again, the more news that comes out about the situation, the more and more it looks like Jim in University of Michigan is completely innocent about it. So it's not going to be a good look if the ruling comes out saying that nothing has happened and then you just suspended Jim Harbaugh for coaching 1 game bare minimum, maybe even 2 about it. And then I know there's all those Bears fans coming out here talking about, maybe it's Jim Harbaugh's time to leave and he's going to come to the coaches, or he's going to come back to the NFL and be a coach here. At least for the Bears, it's not going to happen, guys. I would be very surprised if he does leave Michigan. If I'm a betting man, which now that I'm 20 in, I am. I'm going to say he's staying at Michigan. There's just not a shot he's coming out for the majority of the teams that are going to be looking for head coaches. There's a chance that he comes out for like a Bills, but we've already talked about we don't know what's going to happen there with Sean. And I could see him maybe wanting to come out to be with Justin Herbert. And then the other option there would have been the Bears, but there's a very, I wouldn't say big, but Kevin Warren, what's his official title with the Bears, by the way?
President, team president.
President. There you go. I knew it was like something like super crazy. The president of the Bears, Kevin Warren, has, I wouldn't say vocally because he's never outright said anything, but it's pretty well known that he just does not like Jim Harbaugh. For those of you wondering why, Kevin Warren used to be the commissioner of the Big Ten, and now obviously he's the president with the Bears. So it looks like those two are going to be clashing heads. And then the other reason, Michigan has outright backed it. Michigan has come out and saying we're standing by our head coach. They released their own their own press release about it. There's already been talks about them trying to, get a new contract with him. So he's not going to be leaving Michigan. Michigan's going to stand by him. And the only other way I could see something happening is if the Big Ten has come out and said we're going to indefinitely ban him, which would be dumb with all the information on the table. But then also Michigan has made it very, very clear, while I don't think this is going to happen, and I do think it's just a threat, that if that happens, Michigan would be plenty happy to go to the SEC and play there. And I'm almost positive SEC would open up their arms and say, Michigan, please come and play with us. There's no way that they would even turn down Michigan if Michigan wanted to. So I'd be very surprised looking at all the facts, looking at Michigan backing them, if Jim goes anywhere. Talking about losing appeals, by the way, JMU, James Madison University, who has been on an absolute tear in terms of basketball and football this year, undefeated in football this year. They beat Michigan State basketball. JMU is a very, very fun, story to follow. But it really, really hurts because they're D2 transferring up to D1. And because of that, they are in a 2-year ban from the playoffs. That happens for anyone, whether you're D1 transferring up or transferring down to D2 or vice versa, like JMU is, D2 going to D1. Does not make any sense to me. You would think the D2 program transferring up to D1 would be at a disadvantage. So why are we saying that they can't? It's been the rule. It's been 2 years. They tried to appeal it with how well they've been playing. Again, they're undefeated right now. But the NCAA just said no. The NCAA said, screw you. We don't want you, which, again, makes no sense to me as to why they wouldn't let these D2 players play against D1. It's not like there's it's not like JMU is at this big advantage as if a D1 program was transferring to D2, because it's vice versa. So the NCAA kind of sucks for that. And then kind of the weekly review, there's only 2 big games that I thought were kind of important to talk about. The most important one, in my opinion, was Michigan beat Penn State 24-15, literally just running the ball. One of the most boring games I have ever watched ever. They threw a single pass in the Michigan threw a single pass in the second half, and it was called for PI, so it didn't even go in the stat book. He threw a whopping 8 passes the entire game. Aller looks awful. He just does not look good. And James Franklin had made some pretty questionable decisions the entire game. Penn State's in shambles. And then Texas played a very, very, very close game to, at the time, 4-5 TCU. They squeaked out with the victory, winning 29-26. It's going to get really, really interesting come playoff selection time, if all these teams are undefeated. And there's a good chance, again, most of the time, the winner, I won't even see most of the time. The winner of the Michigan versus Ohio State game will make the playoffs. They secure their spot in the playoffs, even if they lose in the conference championship, which will not happen. But with all these teams playing these close games, there might be a chance that the loser will also have a good to great chance of being one of the 4 teams as well. And then the last one, Jaden Daniels might have just put up the best quarterback stat line in college football history. He absolutely just balled out of his mind. It was absurd. Watching that game was really fun. And again, I'm not over exaggerating when I'm saying this was the best college football game like played by a quarterback ever. He had 17 of 26 passing for 372 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is like normally a very good passing day. But then also you have to account for his 12 carries, which he ran 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he had over 600 yards combined passing and rushing and 5 touchdowns. It is going to be fun to see what team decides. I wouldn't even say bite the bullet, but what team ends up drafting him in the second round. And some team might even love like what he has in terms of arm talent and his running ability, and trade up to the 32nd pick, the 31st pick, get that 5th year on his contract, and even drafting them. My dream would be for him to go to the Rams. It would be really, really fun to see him in the Sean McVay system. And then in terms of 3 games to look at this week, nothing really crazy going on this week. But number 5 Washington versus number 10 Oregon State. Oregon State and DJ Uiagalelei have been a little bit of a surprise, which is kind of funny because they still don't have a home now that the Pac-12 has been disbanded. But with the way they've been playing, I think it's only a matter of time until they do find a home. And this is Washington's only real competition left. And if they can get past number 10 Oregon State, they pretty much have their spot locked up, unless something crazy happens. But they do have to play Oregon in the Pac-12 championship, would be fun. Number 16, Utah versus number 19, Arizona. Again, these are both ranked games. Utah kind of hung in there with Washington for a little bit last week. Washington ended up pulling away there at the end. And Arizona, again, has come out of nowhere. Like the past, I would say, 10 years, Arizona football has not been good. But out of almost thin air, they have played very, very well. So it'll just be a fun game to watch, especially when we're talking about the Pac-12 and kind of the future or lack thereof. And then Georgia versus Tennessee. I'd be very, very surprised if Georgia loses this one. Tennessee has not looked as good as they have been, but Georgia versus Tennessee is always an absolute battle, and it is going to be very, very fun. So,
all right. No, I mean, I think you hit it on the nail, man. I'll be honest with you. I think I'm ready for Weddle. What do you think?
Yes. Give me 1 second here, guys.
All right. Let's go ahead and get it started.
It's time for America's favorite game, Weddle.
All right. So Ben is just kicking my butt. I mean, to be putting it quite frankly, 31-19. Ben, prior to starting, we've been doing this for weeks and weeks and weeks, more than just 40 or 50 weeks. We've tied, and I don't know. It's been weird, but anyways, Ben, I say we get going with this. What do you think?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start us off with Cole Kmet.
Oh, what a help here, pal! What a help. Are there running backs in easy mode? I always forget.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, AJ Dillon's right there. So
AJ Dillon's right there. All right, running back. Based off the height is why I'm saying running back. Running back in the AFC, who's not like super old. Dalvin Cook.
Okay.
Not a running back.
Yeah. Let's see. Thinking wide receiver or quarterback here in the AFC. I'm gonna go with Trevor Lawrence, maybe. Oh, it's
a quarterback. He is.
Didn't realize Trevor Lawrence was that tall. That's insane.
Yeah, he's 25 or 26. Plays in the North or West. What is that?
Oh, I think I got this down.
Is it Joey Burr?
That's what I was thinking. Ooh, okay. AFC North.
Okay, well then I know who it is.
Oh, is it Kenny
He's 25.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett. All right, nice. You want me to go first? You want to go first?
I could go either way.
Gervin Dexter.
I'm not, dude. I'm waiting till the day that it is Gervin Dexter. Right off the bat.
Yeah. At least it's not special teams,
Yeah. So it's a defensive player who's not super young. It's probably a cornerback or a linebacker. I'd be very surprised if he's an edge. And that's all I'm gonna give you guys because I need to do my best to win. AFC defensive player.
What you got?
Why does it have to be AFC? That's so annoying. Marlon Humphreys. Now you got me saying Marlon Humphreys.
Let's go.
That's wild. Anyways, yeah, that was huge. That's a shame.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go.
You got lucky there, pal. You got lucky there, pal.
All right. Yeah, finally a win. All right. Closing the gap. All right.
Yes.
I finally got my 20th win. It only took me like 80 episodes. Anyways, so without further ado, Ben, you got any closing comments?
Happy Thanksgiving. I think we're gonna put out a podcast next week. I'd be surprised if we didn't. But there's I don't want to make that promise because it is Thanksgiving. It's the day right before Thanksgiving. So I don't want to make that promise, but I would be very surprised if we didn't record a podcast. I'll say that. But in case we don't, I hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys eat some great food, enjoy the weather, watch some good football this weekend.
Absolutely. No better time than just filling your face with food and watching football.
Right.
Anyways, we want to thank Spotify for Podcasters, Regional Radio Sports Network, Uppercuts Grooming, and I'm forgetting one. No, I think we're good. Good. We used to say the sports network that we were affiliated with, but not anymore because it is no more. So there's that. But anyways, follow us on all of our socials. Please watch our TikToks when we put them out. Greatly appreciated. And until next time, this has been the Pigskin Project.